The Team Never Quit podcast is sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union. Navy Federal Credit Union helps you take control of your finances after the holidays. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. It is a Friday, and it is quite cold outside in Texas. Morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Meatloaf passed away.
I know, man. Somebody, I don't know if I want to admit to this on air, but somebody told me I looked like Meatloaf once, and that was like the most harmful feeling.
It's a compliment, man.
Is it a compliment? That's a.
Why wouldn't it be?
It's not the best looking guy in the world,
but he has one of the
Is
best.
He's
talented.
Is that your definition of a good dude? He's got to be good looking?
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah. He's supposed to be good looking.
Shit.
No way.
You need some depth.
Not at all. Not at all. Oh, man.
That guy was a rocker through and through, man.
Yeah.
That was a compliment. Matter of fact, I might start calling you that.
Don't call me. It changes every
Name
week.
tags.
Name tags. Oh, man. We've got a great guest in store today. But before we get to that, let's start off with a question of the day. Since it is cold here in Texas, summer or winter? Summer or winter? Which one do you prefer?
Summer, all day, every day.
Okay.
I was cold, wet, and miserable long enough, and I picked the sunshine.
Yeah.
That's a good question. And normally it's like it's a one or the other. But I'm a seasonal guy. Like I have to do the season deal to pick one. Now, there are northern winters and northern summers and southern winters and southern summers, man.
True.
And those are huge. Those are different, right?
Yeah.
That happy medium thing. I'm hoping that instead of climate change, it's kind of climate shift and everything's like growing into this. And Texas just happens to grow into that wonderful San Diego weather, right? But we have warm water.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Michigan.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The winters are cold. They're
man.
long, and you can't ever see the sun in the month of January. So I've experienced that my whole life, and so I would rather see the sun. That's why I would pick summer.
Yeah.
Wintertime's great. Snowball fights are amazing. Igloos are made every winter. However, if you're telling me to pick one or the other, I got to go with
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that one, man.
It's tough because, Texas, we get such brutal summers and our winters are pretty mild in nature. And so for me, it's like I can warm up a hell of a lot easier than I can cool down. So, I mean, I can put plenty of clothes on. I shouldn't take most clothes off.
I'm looking like Meatloaf.
You're looking like Meatloaf, just out there, man.
Start singing, man. Nobody even cares what you look like.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the gift. Like if you're born
singing.
like just funky looking, man, probably
you
got
better-
a voice
you
for
better have
hell.
another
I mean,
talent.
just got a pair of pipes that can just belt something out,
Oh,
right?
God, I hope you have another talent.
I was one of the medium guys. I ain't good at anything. Just like hard work.
That's why I work on computers, man. I got a face for behind the screen, man.
Not even radio.
Not even radio.
I don't even have a face for radio, man. We're podcasters.
That's right. I'll just stick to podcast. Okay. Oh, man. We've got a great guest in store. Dr. Patrick Bisher is a Navy SEAL who first overcame a crippling childhood condition and then a devastating training accident. He offers his own experiences as lessons in defeating adversity. Dr. Bisher, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Caveat to that, my last name is Bisher.
Oh, no. I'll do it all again.
It's fine. Just
Okay.
drop down and give me 50. And
All
we'll
right.
go.
Okay. Meatloaf back here doing 50 for the rest of the show.
We're gonna have to put
man.
that one on the board.
board.
And he's a team guy too. So
Oh my gosh. Gonna send us. Oh man. Well, man, welcome.
I'll do
Welcome.
them with you. I'll do them.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So do you when you work out your exercise routine? Is it anything formulated that we did in Buds? Because we're old now. Like, although I bet you remember Buds very vividly because I still do. It's like one of those things you don't ever forget those moments.
No, I don't forget it. And I was in multiple classes, so it was a great experience the whole time. I got the whole experience of Bud.
Yeah, full bennies.
So I do modified versions of our workouts, and I don't run a lot anymore because I have full hip replacement.
Yeah.
But I do the modified versions just to the point where I know it's going to suck really bad, so I'll do it.
Yeah, no shit.
Just push.
Because there's a mindset that they push once they break us in. Like, don't break our spirit. They just break everything else, kind of pull it to heel, and then it goes from there. And the other day I was driving. I don't even know why I started thinking about this. it's probably because I was complaining about doing some push-ups or something like that. But remember those times when some of the guys would get in trouble and have to do 2,000 to 3,000 8-count bodybuilders in a row in a night? I mean, the instructor pulled a chair out and to sit right in front all night. And I'm not kidding. You had to do every single one of those.
Yeah. My buddy, we were doing underwater knot tying, and I was tying a knot, and all of a sudden, I saw something floating across.
Dude, that's hilarious.
It's like, get out there, get out. He did 1,000 8 counts,
bro.
On the pool deck.
The first time I ever saw that happen was all right. So we got to do this.
Explain.
We got to do this underwater evolution. You got to swim down. You got this piece of rope, like a shoestring, right? And there's also a line set up at the bottom of the pool. You swim down, and you have to tie these knots certain type of knots we have to learn. You got to tie it around the rope properly before you can come back up. Well, think about it is there's an instructor waiting on you when you swim up, right? So you swim down there, and he's looking at you, and he'll just sit there. And then he'll go, okay, you can tie your first knot. So you tie your first knot, and then he has to sign off on it. And some of these guys can hold their breath so long, they'll just be sitting there looking at it, and they'll kind of mess with it, and they'll be like, and they'll have to give you an okay sign. You have to untie it, tie another knot, and then they'll be like, okay, this, that, and the other. And bro, some of the guys get so nervous that they go down and what he's talking about, because I've seen it happen, they go to tie their knot and they're like, does it look good? And the rope goes floating away. They tied the knot, but they didn't tie it around the line.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Oh, you can't even imagine what happened. Underwater is the best comedy.
So I don't know if I clarified this or not, but what I saw floating past was not a rope. However, it was a big piece of crap flying.
Same thing. That's a good one though, dude. Somebody deuced in the pool?
Oh yeah, twice.
Really?
And he's still active. I'm not.
That's why the 1,008 counts. I was like, man, dude, that's hardcore punishment. That makes sense then. All right.
Yeah.
No shit, dropping a turd to CTT.
And he made it through.
It was bad.
And he made it through.
Hey,
he
man.
did make it through. Yeah, he made it through. He's a hard dude.
Yeah.
And he was in my boat crew, and he took the 2 spot, the middle spot.
Oh, that's the worst. Oh, it's the worst.
He's the guy, that you always want to be around. So
that number, our number 2 guys, man, they were something. We had one guy. He never groaned, never moaned or bitched or anything. You never heard him say anything until like 4 or 5 hours into it, and then he let out this most god awful scream, like he'd been holding it the whole time, and I mean just blood curdling. And then he wouldn't say another thing for 4 to 5 hours. It was great. He was a hard dude, man. Watching some of those, because you can't look cool or look good in Hell Week, no matter how hard you try. That's the whole benefit behind it. So you're going through with these guys who are phenomenal at most everything that they do. But back then when we're going through that, man, it's chaos. It's the purest form of it, man. It's something, the way that program is. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Back this up again.
Hey, you got to take us way back, because just the fact that you ended up going to the teams is a huge accomplishment. So why don't you kind of set the stage for that?
Sure. So before I ever was, a SEAL for the DOD, take you back to Lansing, Michigan, 1983. I was born to 2 loving parents, and had a great older brother who beat me up, threw me to the dirt, but picked me up and fought for me when it mattered. And so I had a good family, a good nucleus, and that I was blessed with. I thank God for that. And I was able to do things with my body that I knew other people couldn't. I was ambidextrous, like left-handed, right-handed. It didn't matter. You give me something and I can do it. So I was blessed, truly, physically. And then when I was about 9 years old, I started to experience pain in my left leg and my left hip. And that really kind of shook me, because I was like, oh, maybe I just pulled a groin muscle, because I was in karate at the time when it was big, the whole stage, the fighting tournaments, all that stuff, Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thing. And everybody's going to these tournaments, and I had never lost a tournament. I got disqualified in a few, but I never lost. And I was confident, I was cocky, I was this little spunky kid ready to get after it all the time. And then I had my first setback, which I thought I pulled my groin, and then eventually it got worse. And as I was running down the street trying to chase my older brother, I couldn't run the same way that I used to, and it just got worse. So then my mom and my dad took me to the hospital. I got x-rays, and before I knew it, the doctor comes in and he said, "You're never going to be able to walk again." And I was like, I walked in here. I'll walk right back out.
Like, hold on, man. You got the wrong room, I think. I came in here for a pulled muscle.
Right. And what I was diagnosed with was avascular necrosis, a leg calf Perthes disease. And what happens is the hip is here and the socket is here. And for the listeners, it's just a normal socket. But what happened is my hip bone inside of that socket deteriorated. Oh. So there was really no bone left. All that was left was like a crumpled piece of, if you smash a graham cracker, that's kind of what it looked like on the x-ray. And so they said, well, we'll put you in these leg braces and we'll put you in these crutches, and then we'll reevaluate you in a year. And these leg braces looked, they're like a diagonal, like I was riding on a horse. I'm sure you can appreciate that, Texas boy. Yeah. But I never got off the horse, right? I look like that and I'm crutching around. And on top of that, the doctor said, you can't put any pressure on your left leg. You can't use your left leg. You can't do this. You can't do that. The only thing I could do to take my braces off was get in the water. So that was my first love of water, because I was limited to the leg braces and the crutches every point up until that particular scenario that I could get in the water. And I won't fast forward, but going through that scenario, I was separated and really segregated amongst my friends, my peers, my classmates, and everybody else around me. And what I found out at a young age is that kids are being, they tell the truth, they don't sugarcoat anything. And they started to name call me. I got called every name in the book, squeaky, retard, all these things that are kind of degrading to a kid. And I took myself from being amazing at physical activities to not being able to do anything at all. And not a day went by that I didn't hear in the hallway, "Run, Forrest, run!"
Oh yeah, right.
And it just hit, it hit at home for just a young kid. And what I gained from that is that hard outer shell.
Yeah.
And it helped me persevere to get through that moment. But I was not white. I wasn't black. I wasn't Asian, Mexican. I wasn't this or that. I was handicapped.
Yeah.
And I got put in that category. And so I had a chip on my shoulder. I built this wall, so to speak, and didn't allow anybody inside, even my parents, not anyone. And the pain was excruciating. And after a year had gone by, the doctor said, well, it didn't end up the way we thought it would. Your hip actually got worse. It didn't get any better. So I spent a year in these crutches and leg braces for absolutely nothing, in my point of view. And he said, well, you can either stay in them, go in a wheelchair, or
so did the braces make it worse?
Surgery.
You say you got worse. Did the braces cause
it?
Yeah,
it didn't get any better. So the bone kept deteriorating.
Yeah.
So it didn't get any better. And he said, you can do these three options, right? I said, I'm not going in a wheelchair and I'm not staying in crutches. Sign me up for that experimental surgery, please.
Yeah.
And my parents wrote, they signed off on it, and I had a successful surgery. So I'll say that first and foremost. I got put in a body cast from the chest down for 2 months.
Like one of the old plaster casting, the white one that you see on the TV with the leg raised up. Come on, man.
Old school. Everybody came over.
Do you have any pictures of that? Because team guy, bro. If you could send that out here, I'll put it on the wall. But it has to be in the.
I got a couple. I still have the cast. It's in my garage.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
So and I keep that memory,
Sure,
where I came from.
Yeah.
So after that point, another 6 months go by, and I get reevaluated. I get my pin taken out, second surgery, trying to recover. And what my leg used to look like now looks like a brittle yellow tree branch,
right.
Ready to snap. it was disgusting and somewhat traumatizing as a young child. And from that point, I said, I'm going to be able to walk. The crutches are gone, the braces are gone, the cast is off. Like, I'm going to get up next day, I'm going to start walking. That didn't happen. The doctor said, hey, we're going to go on crutches for another 6 months and reevaluate you, and we'll see. I got sent home after that, and he said after a few days, or I think he said a week, be up and around. And so after 2 days, I got up and I crutched outside. My mom started freaking out. She's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm up and around. She said, no, up on the couch. And so that was the first test.
Yeah.
And so you couldn't break that spirit in me to want to do more, right? And so I just tried to push. And the doctor said, hey, you had a successful surgery after that 6-month checkup. He said this, but the cool thing was I was the prototype. I was the first kid to have this happen to them with a successful surgery. And what success ended up looking like is a deformed hip. So instead of looking like this in the socket, it looked kind of broad and really flat. And it ended up, instead of having that nice acetabulum in here and that nice cover, it was really flat. So I had limited range of motion. I couldn't bring my knee up past my midsection, and I had no internal or external rotation. So I couldn't move my foot left or right, but I could move it up and down. And he was like, this is a success. So knowing that, back then, like, all right, this is the success. I'm going to be good to go. And it just got more and more painful is what happened. And I got to deal with that pain every single day of my life. And I tore everything that I could tear. I went through all of my cartilage, and I had bone-on-bone pain before I was 17. So that's the backstory of that painful experience that I had. And I'll stop right here if you want to ask any other questions about that. But I can take you through the whole testimony if you'd like. But if you
what were you doing? What were you doing to exacerbate that thing, to move it around? I mean, is that, you're talking about it's like physical therapy, or is it everyday kid life? You just went on about.
I did. So I did do physical therapy 2 times a week, early in the morning from 5 to 6 a.m. before school. So I would do that a couple times a week when the insurance would cover it. And so I did do some of that to gain the muscle strength. But as far as the mobility, I couldn't actually move my leg because the bone would stop me from moving.
Yeah.
There was no range.
So what they do, they lock that was it locked into place, or like hip dysplasia? You could pop that thing out of socket, or was it was just
right.
It
was just, think of it as it was molded together and it was stuck, and I could only go up and down.
Just like a regular hinge, right?
I could only do what I could do on a 2-mile ocean swim, which is I could only flutter. And I could only run. I was not
the two things you need to do.
Do any of that, right? So I did what I could do, And so knowing that, the doctor said, "Hey, you'll never be 100% again." And this is, I was a teenager, probably 16 years old. He said, "You're never going to be able to, play sports and do all of these things." At a younger age, he told me that. And by the time I was 16, I played football, basketball, soccer. Like I did it all. I was like, all right, doc, you're going to tell me I can't do this. Well, I'm going to go prove you wrong. That was my mentality coming out. And he's like, you're never going to be able to walk again, right? Backtrack. And I said, okay. He said I'll never be able to walk again. But he didn't say I couldn't take a step.
Yeah.
So that was my first goal. My first goal was to get to the mailbox, because I needed to do something for my family instead of being weighted on hand and foot. I'm talking about feeling like Tiny Tim, feeling worse than, you could possibly feel. Like, what can I do to get one step forward? If I can do one step, then I know I can do another. And if I can't be 100%, and like, maybe 64, then okay, well, that's my 100%. And this is me, before I was a teenager. Like, okay, this is my new life. I'm going to be able to, reach the goals and do everything that I've ever wanted because I can do it. That's the spirit I had. And it's like, I can do it.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. I'll prove you wrong. And, after 3 days of trying, I got to the mailbox. I was like, yeah, victory moment.
Big deal.
Waving the mailbox.
Yeah.
It was a big deal for me,
yeah.
right? And what I didn't realize was I had to get back. It's like I put all my energy, I put everything out that I could, and then I finally got there. And when I got there, here we go again.
Right.
And one thing led to another. I got from one mailbox to another, and I eventually walked around the neighborhood. And then walking turned into running. Running turned into this. It turned into that. And then eventually I was back playing sports again, even though my hip hurt more than any other pain that I could describe.
Yeah.
Like I broke my arm. Didn't hurt as bad as a broken arm. And it was a great, clean, awesome looking break. And it still didn't hurt half as bad as my hip did. So that kind of tells you kind of the pain tolerance that I was dealing with at a young kid. And so I took that mentality to everything that I went to. You can't do this, you can't do that. So eventually I got to be a captain on the basketball team. And I'm giving everything that I got. And I went through this experience with an assistant coach my junior year. And his name was Lake DeVries. And he actually saw that I was suffering, that I was feeling pain. And he was like, what's going on, man? What's wrong with you? I was like, oh, it's my pimp walk. He's like, no, tell me what's going on. And for the first time in my life, I opened up to him. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I was no longer squatting 350 on the rack. And that burden went away. And I cried, I poured out my heart to him. And he's like, you don't have to suffer alone. People can be here to pick you up. And that was the first notion of what true team members do for their teammates. Like I know they do SEAL teams.
Let's take a second to thank our sponsors over at GoodRx. If you've been thinking about breaking some bad habits this year, then you should start with this one: overpaying for your prescriptions. And to do that, get in the good habit of always checking GoodRx to help find the best price for your prescription medications. I used to visit just one pharmacy, not realizing that prescription prices can actually vary between pharmacies by as much as $100, which is pretty insane. Turns out I was probably paying way too much. Now I always use GoodRx to instantly find discounts, compare prices at all the pharmacies in my neighborhood. Even if you're like me and have insurance, you should still check out GoodRx because it can often beat your copay. You can use their site or the GoodRx app, which you can download for free. GoodRx is free, easy to use, and could instantly save you up to 80% on your prescriptions. Plus, it's accepted at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide, like CVS, Kroger's, Walgreens, Walmart, and many more. I've been telling my family members about GoodRx lately because I have a mom who's a little bit older and she still needs prescriptions on a regular basis. I have a sister who has 2 kids that have autoimmune diseases. And so when you're buying prescriptions that often, any money you can save goes a long way. So for simple, smart savings on your prescriptions, check out GoodRx. Go to goodrx.com/TNQ. That is goodrx.com/TNQ. goodrx.com/TNQ. GoodRx is not insurance, can be used instead of insurance. In 2021, GoodRx users saved an average of 79% on retail prescription prices. Check them out, goodrx.com/TNQ.
But I experienced it with him. And so I felt that burden lifted. Things were great. We're about to play our first basketball game. And that morning when I went to go into his office to give him a Sprite and, hang out, because I had him for a teacher's aid class, we were going to hit it off and win this game. The door was locked. So I went to the office and said, hey, is Mr. DeVries here? He said, no. And as soon as I asked that, the secretary picked up the phone and she's like, what? Oh, no. And my heart dropped. My heart sank. I knew about Lake DeVries. And he had got hit by a car on the way to work in his car. It was icy. You know, he slid off to the side and someone ran into him. And I went to the locker room, punched in all the lockers, bloody fist, just was angry because I felt like everything that I poured into him was then taken away from me. And then I felt worse than I did before. And he died that Friday, and I never got a chance to see him again. So I said, I'm never going to do that again. Like, I'm never going to feel this hurt ever again in my life. So I built up those walls, those emotional walls so high that no one could come in. I wasn't going to do it. And I had this chip on my shoulder, trying to prove people wrong, angry at the world. And what's next, right? What's the next challenge? So I go into my senior year, and me and the head coach don't get along. We disagree on everything basketball wise, but he knew he needed me because I was the best player on the team. And at the end of the season, rival coach calls me. He says, "Hey, we nominated you for All-State, but your coach said, no, he's not going to put you on the ballot because you have an attitude problem." Well, I took that attitude problem straight up to his office the next day. And I was like, "I'm going to give it to you. And I'm going to win. And you ruined my whole chance to play in college and, further my career, me. And I walk in, and my hands are just like fists. Like, I'm ready to go at this coach who's 65, 64 years old. I'm 18. I don't have the right mindset moving forward. I have this victim mentality that he's done everything wrong to me, and it's all his fault. But when I go in there and I scream at him and I give him everything that I have, I'm talking, we're spitting at each other. We're so angry. And I yelled at him, and I was like, "I wish you were dead." And I stormed out. I was like, "Yes, I beat him. I won. He got everything that he deserved." And as I'm walking down, halfway through, walking home, Leighton, what would Leighton say? What would Coach DeVries say to me? And it just hit me. Like, man, I got to go apologize to him. So the next morning I went in, I apologized. Like, I'm going through the apologetic speech, right? And my palms are sweaty. I'm like, okay, I can smell the popcorn that he makes in the morning. I'm like, all right, every step get more and more butterflies. Like, what are you doing? You're a man, 18 years old. And I open the door, and there he is. He's lying on the ground. He's not breathing. And a couple people came in, tried to do CPR, but he didn't. And so I carried that burden with me for a really long time. And I can never take those words back. So I have to always be conscious about what I say and what I do, because sometimes you never get the words back. And sometimes you'll regret the things that you'll say and do for the rest of your life. So in that moment, I had no love of basketball. I had no idea of what was next. And I'm angry, pissed off at the world. And I want to take this rage out. So where do I go? I go straight to the Marine Corps office, and I'm like, "I'm signing up." But the door was closed. All right, well, what's next? So then I go into the EB recruiting office, and I say, "What's the hardest thing you got?" And they were like, "SEALs." I was like, "I've never heard of it." And they explained it to me.
How old are you now?
Like, 22.
And you just walked into the recruiter's office like, "Hey, I want to be a SEAL." I don't even know what a SEAL is.
Well, so at first I walked in, and the whole year went by. I tried to do business with my father. I did pretty well. I had a lawn mowing business. I'm like, this is not what I want. Like, I'm so angry to have that built up rage. Like, a year went by. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I want to go prove myself to the world. There's more in me. I want to do great things. I just don't want to live a normal life and make money. That's not where my intent is. I don't have a heart to go do that. I want to go make the world a better place. And at the same time being angry. It was a very weird situation.
Yeah.
Being a young kid. And And so, yeah, I just went into the recruiter's office because I wanted to go into the military. 1, to prove myself. 2, to serve my country. I know it should be flipped, but at that time it was different for me because I had all this built up rage and anger, a sense of motivation to prove myself to others, because every step of the way in life, they're like, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do that. I was like, all right, prove you wrong, prove you wrong, prove you wrong. And when I got in there, into the Navy recruiting office, they were like, all right, well, what do you want to do? Well, what's the hardest thing you got? I want to be a GI Joe and a ninja. Like,
that's what I said.
Something like that.
Yeah, I said that exact same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I tell my kids, I play the old GI Joe cartoons on the TV in the morning for breakfast. That's the best thing that the internet provides, was the cartoons that we grew up on. Because I think I had He-Man on this morning, right? And then GI Joe. It's my wife, Melanie.
Hi, Melanie.
So nice
to see you.
I was the same way, man. I actually found Revenge of the Ninja on not Netflix, on one of the, forget where I found it. That and American Ninja. So good. It's probably the best movies ever made. Anyways, go ahead.
Okay. So I walked in there and I asked that question, what do you have? And they presented it to me. And I said, all right, great. What do I got to do? They showed me the numbers. Oh, you got to run this far, pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, and a mile and a half run. And you got to swim 500 yards. Can you swim 500 yards? Like, yeah.
Yeah, of course. I swim every day. Bathtub, sure. All that. Yeah. Isn't that funny? I said,
me. Like, no.
Bro, when you first do that, it sucks, right? It sucks the first time you have to do it.
Yeah, it's terrible. However, my office where I came out, and by the way, they said, and it's about a 80% dropout rate. I was like, sign me up.
Yeah.
I'm one of the select few. And the first time I did the test, we did the push-ups, the sit-ups, the pull-ups, and the run. Didn't do the swim. He's just like, can you swim 500 yards? Yeah. So I never did it. The first time I actually did the test was at boot camp. So, which is great, because I was drowning my way through and failed and learned how to do the combat side stroke. At the same time, Senior Chief Rhodes was staring at me with his blue eyes of fire, being like, "You little mother."
Yeah.
So it was a great time, a great experience. And so in that moment, I signed up, and I'm ready to rock and roll. Except when I go to MEPS, the military processing station, I end up being disqualified. Why? Because and they checked it out. They're like, "There's no way you're getting in the military. No chance. Like, in any line of service." So I kept going back, and I kept going back. And the medical review doctor at that station was retiring in 2 weeks. I was like, "Come on, doc. I run 5.5 miles a day. I'm the fastest person in this whole program. I'm this. Trying to prove my point to him."
Yeah.
And he's like, all right. He stamps me. He's retiring.
You remember that doc's name? Like, it's got to be in the you know what I'm talking about?
It's got to be in there.
Yeah, it's got to be in there. We did find that dude.
But that was at the Lansing Military Processing Station, and I actually know the person that works there now. So I'm sure.
Oh, that'd be cool.
But and he said, but you're gonna have to see the dive-mo officer even to get into BUD. So that's where you have to go through another review to be stamped in order to be, special operations qualified. And
yeah, just to go in, you got to get another. There's a whole process of what he's talking about, and MEPS might be the worst process ever. And it's everything has a process, but I remember walking in there and thinking, it's like, hey man, because the first day everything shut, all the power went out, so we had to stay there another day. And then I remember thinking, if it happens again, I won't go into the military because of how terrible MEPS was, man. Ugh. All right, go ahead.
So I say, all right, fine. What? You cleared me. I'm sure I'll figure it out, right? And I get to boot camp, and there's no special divisions or anything like that. We're doing flutter kicks, and My kid's over here crying. He needs an ambulance. He's like, you need a ambulance? Yes, sir. And I was like, come on, dude, it's just flutter kids. So I got a taste of what the Navy was like and really what I was trying to go into. It was comical. It was fun. I had a lot of bonding time there. And I finally passed the PST with a guy who was going SWIC. And he taught me on the fly while we're swimming. He made it through too, by the way. And it was amazing. Like I passed. Like, all right, I'm in. But I wasn't in. When I got done with that, I did have to see the dive-mo officer. And this is the crazy thing. So this is a God moment where it's not me. It's like, okay. I go in and my medical record's already as thick as
his people's right? As thick as ours are now.
Yeah, right. And he's flying through. He's like, well, you have that's a rare disease. I said, yes, avascular necrosis, late hepatic disease. He's like, where did you have your surgery? I said, University of Michigan. Dr. Henze did my surgery. And he said, no way. I was his understudy for 10 years. I said, yeah, he's awesome.
He talked about you all the time. He told me to come see you. Awesome. This is like a test case.
And he's like, this is great. So we just talked about him. And for some reason, he didn't even get past that. He stamped my stuff.
Okay. Here's a team guy pro tip for anybody going out there that has to deal with doctors in the medical profession, or you're throwing your resume out there. If you can get talking like that, like get them riled up, man, and start telling a story about something, it will completely shift. And then they really get to know you. That's kind of what they're shooting for, man, because words are words, man. But when you actually get to sit down with them and have a good time, I've heard that a couple times. Morgan had that. He had a lot of hardware before he went in. He's like, man, if you just get to talking to them dudes, they'll kind of, it'll work itself out. You have God moments, man. Good stuff, bro.
Yeah. So that was that moment where it's like, okay, I'm cleared, and I'm in buds. My first class was 261, the last hardest class to ever go through Hell Week.
That's right, yeah.
And it was great. It's a great experience. Like every part of buds for me was a great time. And
what the fuck are you talking about?
I have to throw that out there.
I'm sorry. I threw out the F word. Bleep that out. Oh, back up, man.
Go ahead.
Come on, new guy. Hold on for a second. Were you summer or winter? Actually, you got full benefit, right? You were there for both. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's go ahead, man. I've been talking to the guys. Any classes under 300, like the Spartans. First 300 classes, man, that's it. After that, all those new guys, they're not like us. I tell them that all the time just to remind them. So if you're in the 300s, then from 0 to 300, you're good to go.
It's a little different now, and being a field mentor, I've experienced the pipeline, the end of the pipeline. At Advanced Training Command as an instructor, and the very beginning as a SEAL mentor. So I've seen that process too, and I'd have to agree with that to an extent, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's always instructors there to find a way to suck.
Sure. Well, yeah. Well, that's the program in itself. And every team guy like us will always tell the guys that are in and the young ones that they suck, they're no good, and they're weak and pathetic, and they need to get harder. And I'm saying that again. So you guys hear me? Love y'all. Stay strong.
Stay strong. Stay strong.
I love you. Don't ever forget that. You're all pussies. Work hard. I hate you. You're soft.
But that's why I liked it, right? That's why I liked the experience, because everyone was suffering. That's why I say I loved every part of Buds, because what I was experiencing my entire life is what other people were finally experiencing for the first time.
Oh, that's a good way to say that. That's a good way to say that.
You got the guys who are silver medalists in the Olympics in swimming, and you're beating them.
Yeah.
And you have guys who are track athletes who D1 scholarships, and you're beating them, or they're quitting. Even better.
The swimmers that quit. My roommate was one of those guys, and because they come in talking about that. Mm-hmm. And I remember day one, week one, he must have been a bodybuilder or something. This was before CrossFit and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
You know, you kind of look at those guys like, hey man, that sucker's the one that's going to be there at the end. He was gone 5 minutes. Yeah, right. 5 minutes, man. Yeah. I mean, it's just no matter what you think it looks like or what we're supposed to look like, that doesn't. It's people always ask us, excuse me, well, how some guys make it through and some guys don't. And everyone has a different answer. Every team guy will tell you something different. I always thought it was sense of humor. You got to have a sense of humor that's allowed to change. I heard somebody say the other day, you got to have a pure heart and a wicked mind. I agree with that too. You know, it's kind of like take one guy from each walk of life in this country and throw them into one fraternity, like one dog pound where they all train us up. Because you're running to every type of guy. It's hilarious. And when you're in, you kind of get shoved into what it is you do, and you don't recognize how unique each one of the guys are. But when you get out, you do. I mean, look at this. Right. I mean, all the guys that come, even our 60 gunners, freaking 60 gunners, man, will wind up going to Harvard Medical and being the most prestigious in their classes and everything they do. And it's amazing to watch them knowing how freaking underneath their shirts are covered up in tattoos, and they've been to hell and back, and they can drink to the foam. But then when it comes time for business, they're all business. That's what team guy is, right? Man. Yeah, that's cool.
That's right. And I think the training allows you to go through all of that stuff, right? To embrace the stuff. And then what comes out is the best version of you that you could get out of yourself if you're willing to be refined in that fire.
Sure.
And some people don't like the fire, don't like it hot, so they get out, right? The motivation is, I don't want to be here anymore. Well, then why are you even here in the first place? You know? And if it's a test to prove yourself how far you can go, then your motivations aren't right. And so that's why I appreciated the training pipeline.
We are supported by Mountain Tough, and they have got a huge announcement. After 2 years in the making, behind the scenes, the Mountain Tough Plus native app is finally here for you, ready to be downloaded on all the platforms, whether it's your iPhone, your Android, even your Apple TV or Roku, and many more. Mountain Tough Plus is the fitness app trusted and used by dedicated backcountry hunters, wildland firefighters, law enforcement officers, and even the U.S. military special forces. And now you guys can train on your own time, your way, from your phone, tablet, TV, or even your computer. Mountain Tough Plus is an all-access subscription that's going to give you access to all the Mountain Tough Plus programs, all the new programs, and the bonus content. There's nothing worse than going to the gym, especially in the new year with the New Year's resolutions, and getting into the gym. There's a lot of people in there. You get this gym intimidation where you're not sure where to start. You're not really sure what workout to do, and that can be scary. But with Mountain Tough Plus, they have created the most functional fitness programs ever, designed and delivered to your phone, and it was created by veteran Navy SEALs and Army Rangers. They have made it convenient to go to the gym, do the prescribed workout, and get in the best shape physically and mentally of your life. If you are in a rut, if you are stuck, if you've been trying to make a transformation in your life, you've been trying to work out, then I'd say you should certainly check out Mountain Tough. I've said it before, but my favorite part of Mountain Tough is their focus on mental toughness. I'd say most of the time when you're stuck in the gym or you're stuck in kind of old bad habits, it's typically on the mental side. And everything that they do is grounded in one purpose, which is life transformation. They've got a community of over 10,000 Mountain Tough Plus athletes. The community is strong, supportive, and they're going to keep you accountable. And I think for the most of us, accountability is key. There are thousands of workouts which are available in the Mountain Tough Plus subscription, and you can start today with no equipment needed. That part's really cool. For those of you guys that don't have a big gym or access to a gym, or if you don't have access to all the crazy equipment that you might think you need to start, they've got the programs for you. Mountain Tough has been the
going into my experience and my testimony. It's like I was able to do most of the things that everyone could do, and then if it hurt and other people were hurting, I could push beyond that because I was already experiencing that pain.
Yeah. So what'd you run into that gave you some problems, if you don't mind me asking? Just for guys who are going in with hardware, because you're talking about picking your leg. There's certain things that we have to do in certain positions. So what was one of those? You remember?
So just the easy stuff, like taking off my fin after an ocean swim, I always had to have my buddy Joel take that off.
Yeah.
Because I physically couldn't get down there and do that. I was just done. My left leg.
Hey man, so was it worse when you came out of the water? Because how cold it was?
It was worse. It was worse.
Yeah.
I felt better when I was running.
Sure.
And that's what I was good at. Like I was good at running. I was good at the old course. I was top 5 in those categories.
You're Fab 5, huh?
Swim, I was always back, right? Always back. Well, eventually I moved up because it's like, all right, I got couldn't roll back land. I figured out how to swim and all that stuff. But
so did you dolphin kick or were you a scissor?
I was both. I would scissor, take a breath, scissor, take a breath, and then I would dolphin up to look to guide.
Yeah,
and then I go back down. So I had a little.
Man, I bet if you locked that sucker into place, man, because the boys at the dolphin kicks, man.
It helped a lot.
Right?
It helped a lot learn how to dolphin kick. Now, without fins, I'm a bad swimmer. I'll tell everybody that. You know, I'm the best person at calmly drowning. You know, that's me.
That's what swimming is. Prolonged drowning. Because eventually, if you stay out there long enough, you will succumb. Right? Isn't that funny? Nobody ever does it like that. Brilliant. Good job, Doc. I'll put that on the wall.
Yeah, right.
So, but with fins, right, that was a great equalizer for me. But the bad thing was I couldn't even take off my own fins. I had to have somebody else do.
And we got guys in the program that can outswim guys with fins without them. And one of our officers, man, he just fly past us like it was nothing. Them dudes that are born in the water. And I'm a quick swimmer. And they give me a run for my money without fins. It's amazing, man. What people can do.
It's crazy. Yeah, there's a few guys that were officers that just blew me away. Like they're swimming, their belly buttons are out of water.
Yeah, no, it's
treading,
ridiculous.
and I'm like,
drowning off their wake. Right? They come past you so fast. Like, what was that?
Like, I'm good.
Yeah. Great job, sir. Way to lead the men. Freaking just some of them got freaking workhorses, man.
But it was good because when it came time to get in the water, and line up to get in there, they're like, "Where's Bish? Where's Bish?" I'm like, "I'm right here." Skin and bones over here, and they'd snuggle me. I'm like, "All right, cool."
Bro, I was a little bitty and buzzed too, man. It was so damn cold. I remember one of the instructors said my dive socks looked like beach towels wrapped around my legs because I was so damn little. Yeah. It's tough to keep that weight on. When we come out of graduation day, the only thing that's really different in us in our weights, probably off 10 to 15 pounds between us, and our heights. You'll have your up and downs, but man, the product they push out of that sucker is the same.
Yeah, you're lean, mean, fighting machine, right? Ready to get to the team.
Whatever.
So, yeah, and that's so I appreciated that. The teamwork and then the pain, right? So getting back to that point is that the pain that accompanied me was the same pain that other people were feeling.
Yeah.
And so much so that it actually equalized in the boat group. So when we were running down with boats on our heads, in the middle of the night, and a certain ensign is going like this underneath the boat, walking left and right, not keeping up, not doing the Bud Shuffle run. He's leaning the boat so much so that it leans over on our side, on the left side, and as it's going down, here I am thinking Superman, right? Like, oh, keep the boat up, like, oh, okay. Well, when that happened, the whole boat shifted and went behind me, and when that went behind, my hand was on the D-ring, all the way back, ripped out of socket, and then the boat falls on us. All the instructors come over, like ravenous dogs, like they are, and just like and trying to figure out what happened and whose fault it was, and like, get up, get back in line, go. And then you experience that, and you have experienced that as a student, right? And when you're an instructor, you have that mindset that you're going to get this guy to quit no matter what.
Oh yeah,
and and that's a good.
It's like
thing.
A kill. Sure, man. For a team guys, like kill. Sure.
And so going over there and knowing that's happening and being in the moment myself and realizing I got to get up, my arm is completely ripped out of socket and it's over on the side.
Back here.
And I look down.
You're waving like, hey,
I can't feel my fingers. I can't move them. It's like way over here. And I'm like, oh no. What am I going to do? In that split moment, Senior Chief Tushin comes out there, the Master Chief now and retired. He's got his flashlight. He's like, what are you doing? Get up. And then he looked at me and he's like, oh, bro.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the team guy comes out.
Like,
oh, bro.
Yeah. When he said bro, I was like, all right, I'm good. He's like, like medical, like, what do you want to do? And so I was like, all right.
Did you Martin Riggs that thing?
Put it out, turned it back, put it back in socket. I was like, oh, I can feel my finger. He's like, oh, good. Like, I don't want to fill out that medical report. And so I say, I'm good.
Right. Yeah. That looked like a lot of paperwork, son. I'm glad you did that. Good job.
Like,
carry on smartly.
I'm good. Yeah. You know, I've already been through hell. Like, just put me on the other side of the. He was like, roger that. And that was that. And from that moment on, I was like, all right.
Was this during Hell Week, or when was this? Obviously, first phase.
That was in first phase and a night evolution going down to the Helving Cages back. And then in that experience, I was like, all right, if I can get here, right? Because my whole mentality was, if I can just get 1% better today than I was yesterday, then I'm good. Because if the doctor told me I could never be 100%, they gave me a new, percentage. If I could just increase that by 1, just by sheer will, I'll be good to go. So I took the same mentality. If I can grab this boat, with my right arm, and I just take one step, follow the next guy's footsteps in front of me, I'll be good to go. I can finish the evolution and take care of whatever we've got to take care of after that. And then after that moment, my shoulder kept coming out of socket, legitimately just coming out of socket. Would go to dive in the ocean, it would just roll right out. And I made it through Hell Week all right. Didn't really have any issues with Hell Week, with the exception of not being able to eat after Tuesday. And got through up until the point where we did life-saving. And life-saving, for those of you who don't know it and who are bad swimmers already, you have to take a guy.
It sucks. It's not what you think. That word is deceptive. Right?
This guy is a beast in the water. He feels like a shark in the water. And you have to swim over to him and say, I'm here to save you. He's like, yeah, whatever. and you're going over, you're swimming to him, and you have to grab. First of all, you have to go underwater. You got to turn him around. You got to climb up, go up and over his shoulder and underneath and grab his armpit here so that you can then bend him sideways. So these guys are both swimming sideways. And he has to stay up and breathe comfortably while you're in the underwater, suffering, trying to swim your way while holding him, getting to the ledge. And the odds are not in your favor. So if you're a listener and you're about to go into that at some point in time, I hope that you suffer. Okay. And
well,
every time I go to pull this guy, he just ripped right out. And when he would rip out, my arm would rip out. So one thing led to another. It's my third and final try. My proctor, he's like, come on, man. I thought you were tough. This is just one evolution. I didn't want to say anything about my shoulder. And I was like, all right, we'll just do this. Swim over to him, here to save you. Do the first 2 iterations, which are okay, and then escalate up, and then finally, you get the double whammy, so to speak. Not second phase stuff, but you get the hammer thrown on you. And when he did that, my arm ripped out again, and we're floating to the bottom of the pool, extremely negatively buoyant. And I'm like, put my arm back in. I'm like, okay. And as soon as I did that, I noticed he was just staring at me in the water like this, crossed arms, crossed legs, floating.
Yeah.
Like a Yoda, Aladdin.
It's a huge misconception. The life-saving thing is like you're actually trying to save your own life as you swim in there. Dude, I had looked like the Hulk, but then he was oiled up in suntan lotion, and had a Speedo on and a dong down to his foot, right? And as I swim out there, they're supposed to be on top of the water, acting like they're drowned. He disappears. And I'm kind of doing the up top water, looking for what's underneath me. Next thing I know, with splash of water, he comes over the top of me, man. I think he was trying to ride me out of there. And I was trying to save his life as he was going through the numbers on me. And when we got done, bro, he was wearing my damn shirt. And he left me a $1 bill. I mean, it's not what when you swim in there, man, they're waiting on you. And I tried to grab that sucker and couldn't grab anything. Oh,
you can't anticipate it.
No.
It's like fighting a gorilla underwater, while they're buoyant and you're not.
Or in a gorilla in the jungle.
At least for guys like me.
Yeah, or the kraken, you know what I'm talking about? Or a shark or something that's pissed off and really wants your attention in the water. And has a great sense of humor and a bad attitude.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Oh,
so
that's
so
hilarious.
he's like, hey, go up. He's like, Bisher, what is wrong with you? I was like, my shoulder keeps coming on the socket. He's like, I thought you were weak. He's like, you're toughest. And I was like, thank you. He's like, but you're dumbest too. I was like, okay, well, what do you want me to do? Right? He's like, go to medical. So I go to medical. And they're like, okay, well, let's get X-rays on you. Go through that. Meanwhile, the review board is up, and they put 10 people in the room right at the quarterdeck, above that BTC. We're all lined up, and I'm thinking, I'm getting sent home. It's like I made it through Hell Week, and I'm getting sent home because of my stupidity. And I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna go in first. We're gonna knock this out. I'm gonna get kicked out, and I'll get it over with. We'll see what happens. So I'm first in line. I'm first up, clean pressed, and tons of starch.
Yeah, A.B. Brights, right? Just freaking
right. That's right. Yeah. That's right. and then the last kid comes in, and then the instructor staff, blue shirts, huge lower lip, right? And they don't start at me. They start at the kid down here. I'm like, okay. So it's like, okay, you're out. Oh, you're old. You're out. And then they finally get to me, like, oh, Bisher, I failed this. Oh, well, and then senior tuition at the time, he's like, wait, Bisher? I said, yeah, senior chief. He's like, you're good to go. See you later. I was like, oh, okay. And then I was gone. So then I got rolled just because he remembered me. Yeah. He was like, I remember. So afterwards, he's like, I remember you, pretty tough, man. Just, you'll be all right. So it was like, Papa Bear taking Baby Bear under, his arm. Like, hey, man, you're going to be
It feels good, right? When they do that, you can't anticipate how much that means. And they don't even know they're freaking doing that. You know that?
Right. They don't.
They got no idea. They're still trying to be I
talked to them.
Dude.
Yeah.
But it's those, that's one thing you never think about when you become a man, especially an older one. Those moments. I had a couple of them too. Yeah, it's not the moments you think. Everyone's like, I went in with a speech. I gave it to them. I changed their lives. Shit, man, I remember none of that. It's the one, when you're walking down haphazardly after something like that, or you just kind of sitting there after getting your ass kicked by something else, and somebody else happens to walk up and be like, hey, man, just want to tell you, I think you're funky looking, man, but you're tough, so we can keep you right. Just whatever. Like, oh, I changed my life,
That moment.
That moment right there, Thanks for you guys.
So I went in, and then I went in to rehab my shoulder. I ended up getting shoulder surgery and put 8 anchors into my shoulder. I had torn, I had it dislocated so many times that the bone had actually started.
So what, your shoulder and your hip are the same then? They look the same?
Right.
Basically?
Well, the hip was really deformed, and the shoulder just kind of loose. And so I ended up having that surgery.
That's awesome. Hey, what's going on with your shoulder? Oh, that's loose, man. I don't know.
It's not bad. You should see my hip.
Yeah, exactly. That's a bitch is slacking. Yeah. The shoulder's just loose. That old hip, boy, that sucker slacked off. That's awesome.
Well, the cool thing is that as soon as I went in for my shoulder for rehab after surgery, those docs see everything and everything else and everything in between. And they're like, they see me and they go, Bisher, what is wrong with you? I was like, I need to rehab my shoulder. And they pulled me into their office, and they had all their monitors up with all of my x-rays of my hip. And they were like, dude, you should not be walking. How are you here? And right, I'm like, all right, now I'm done. They're like, how are you here? What is going on? I said, I'm here for my shoulder. Can you take care of my shoulder?
And yeah, right. I don't know anything about all that. Right? Bro, you should start changing to be like, okay, all right, you got me. Secret's out. I'm actually a test case for the government. And all of my injuries are to see if y'all are willing to go through this with me. Just you can't kick me out. I'm here for good. Just let's just
Right.
keep me in the program and see what happens. All right.
I'm the redheaded stepchild.
Literally make up. Hey, bro, I'll send you a copy. So just put it on the front of your med record, like some alphabetical stuff they use in the military. No one knows what it means.
Numbers.
So that happened, right? And they're actually rooting for me as I'm going through every phase you go through, and they're like, "Hey, Bisher, you all right? Man? How you doing? Like, do you need any ibuprofen?"
Right. Hey, can I give you ice or something? You need ice?
I'm all right. And made it through to SQT, and my shoulder rips out of socket again on the last free fall of qualifying. And I ended up having to have surgery again. And when I did that, then I took Arabic the whole time. I went to SDSU and then also did it in-house in our training pipeline, which there wasn't really a training pipeline that at that time, but it was being introduced. So I took it, I took Arabic. I got pretty good, level 1 speaking ability as the test goes. And then I got back in the saddle, was pretty good performer. And then I had another parachute, and the parachute, I had another accident over in Brownfield. Had a really bad
Brownfield. You have your brown pants on. What'd you do? Tear your shoulder out again?
No, my hip popped so loud that the guy who landed before me said, "What was that?"
Somebody's shooting at us, man.
So, and the whole day, my hip felt like it was on fire. And I knew at that time, I was like, all right, something is really, really wrong. Because if I say that to anybody else, like, of course something's really wrong. You got jacked up hip, dude. And I was like, no, this is really, really wrong. And I hit so hard that my Protec split. And, the lady's coming out on her four-wheeler like, "Are you okay?" And I'm seeing the sky and I'm seeing the ground. And I'm like, "I feel fine."
Yeah. This is normal. Like I said, I'm something different down here. I'm a test case.
So I got to the point where I couldn't operate. I went up Powell's Mountain, little exercise for, I was like the second one up behind the OIC, and I was the last one down by a couple minutes as a new guy. And going through that experience is miserable because you want to prove yourself to the guys who have earned it when you've earned absolutely nothing. But you can't, because you're totally messed up. Like, I gave everything that I could just to get up to that point, and that was all that I had left.
Our next partner has a product I've used literally every day for the last year, and that is Athletic Greens. I started taking Athletic Greens because I was having some gut health issues, slacking a little bit on eating right, slacking on taking my multivitamin, and I realized, hey, why not check out a new product? Why not try something that'll save me some time, might be a little bit easier? And honestly, it's made a huge difference in my life. Several people have actually hit me up on Instagram asking me specifically about this product, what I think, how I think it actually helps, and I think it's an amazing product. Actually, I shared it with my sister, and her family absolutely loves this stuff. So what is it? What is Athletic Greens? With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. They're going to help start your day right. They've actually got a special blend of ingredients that they have dialed in that will help you support gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. Pretty much all the things. I like to take mine every single morning when I hit my protein shake up. Actually, multiple people have reached out to me and said, "Hey, what's that protein shake that you do in the morning?" Bananas, a little bit of almond butter, some cinnamon, my protein powder, my AG1 Athletic Greens 1 scoop, and a little water, a little bit of ice. I'm probably missing something. Hit me up if you want to know what it is. I do that every single morning for breakfast. It's simple, it's easy, it keeps me full, and with the benefits of Athletic Greens, I know it's going to do a lot more for me. It is lifestyle friendly. So if you're one of those keto guys, Hey, it's good for you. Paleo, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, and it still tastes good. And the most important part of this is that I went from having a cabinet full of products all over the place, multivitamins, probiotics, energy boosting supplements that I don't even started knowing what the heck was on the counter. I was able to get rid of all of that by adding the Athletic Greens to my daily regimen, and now just 1 scoop a day and I'm good to go. The reason why I trusted this company out of the gate is because it was created when the founder experienced a ton of gut health himself. He ended up on complicated supplement routines to recover, cost him $100 a day, $100 a day to try to make it right. And he realized, you know what, there's got to be something better out there. So he created Athletic Greens after experiencing how difficult it was to create an optimal nutrition routine on your own. Right now is the time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. I promise you it's not hard to do because you literally take a scoop, mix it up with your favorite drink, just a water if that's all you want. Especially heading into the flu and cold season, we've got to be prepping our body. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every single day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is hooking you guys up with a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D. That stuff's not cheap, guys. They're even going to hook you up with 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit our link, athleticgreens.com/TNQ. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/TNQ. Take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
And my hip bone would lock up so hard that I would have to pop it out of socket, pushing it down just to stand up and letting it pop out of socket and back in to sit down to get in the car. And every morning I would wake up, my wife would put on my sock for me, and I'd be like, all right, I'm ready to go to work, be a SEAL. Like that didn't really happen for me. Like the way that most guys get to get to the platoon, prove themselves, and move forward. And I ended up having to go to the doctor, and the doctor was like, hey, you're never going to be a SEAL again. I said, Doc, I've been hearing this my whole life.
What do you mean again? I mean, that's not a thing.
Well, he was like, hey, you're never going to be a SEAL.
Yeah, right.
And what I heard was like, hey, you're not going to be able to do this again.
Yeah.
So when the doc said, you're never going to be a SEAL, you have to be something else. You can cross-break. You can be a cook. It's like that.
Casey Ryback.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
That was a cool job when you get older, but when you're our age, I remember anytime, and it's a thing. Because once we go through the program, it's almost like we're trained to never quit. So when we're going through the program and they beat us and we fail something, like, hey, you want to quit? You're like, no, I never quit. And then guys would die and they'd bring them back. Like, hey, you want to quit? You're like, no, I never quit. So it gets to the point to where it's switched in us. So if you tell us to quit something, we've already blocked you out. Matter of fact, what our go word is if you're not the right person for this or you can't do this. The minute they say that to us, it's programmed into us. They said throughout training, programming, all that stuff like that. The minute you hit a team guy with that phrase, you better get the hell out of his way because he won't stop. You have to kill him or whatever it is inside of him is breaking or have to be completely broken down. And then the new challenge will go get it fixed and try to go back in until the son of a bitch dies. That's just the way it is.
That's true. That's the truest statement. And I was going through the exact same scenario that, every SEAL and their mindset, how that plays out. Like, Doc, just fix me up, do whatever you got to do, and I'm going to go do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And what I realized was that I physically couldn't walk. I couldn't move on my own. I was legit handicapped back in the same crutches and leg braces in my mind. Or I pushed as far as I could up until this point. And what did I do? What have I done? Like, I proved the world wrong about what's possible. That's what I did. I made it to the mountaintop, the literal highest mountaintop that you could achieve as, a military person or as a warrior on the planet. I did that. Me. Like, it was mine. And I had put myself on this certain type of path that I thought I was Superman because I overcome so many obstacles. But my own kryptonite was my pride. And pride comes before destruction, and then you fall. And so when I fell, and I was carrying a dude who was 220 pounds with no weight, and we fell, I crashed He crashed. I bloodied his face up. What the heck, bro? Come on. It's like, dude, you got to carry. And that was the most humiliating moment of my life because I couldn't do the job that I said I could do. And on top of that, I was no longer an asset. I was a liability. And that's when I knew I couldn't be the same version of me that I used to be. And through all of this time, I've had this battle in my mind about what I could do, what I couldn't do, like proving people wrong. Like, no matter what you say to me, I'm going to get to the end result. No matter what will happen to me, there's no way you're going to be able to hurt me to the point where I'm going to give up and I'm going to quit. So I'm never going to quit. I'm never out of the fight.
At what point in time did you start to realize that instead of you trying to prove yourself to everybody, everyone else is trying to prove themselves to you now? Everyone is trying to be as hard as you are. Like when SEAL instructors literally tell you, good job in the middle of training, they don't do that. So, I mean, and then the mindscape you climb that mountain. When you get that trident, that's the only way you really know something is as soon as everyone else acknowledges it. All right. And are we team guys the day before we get our trident? Nope. No, we're not. Right. When you get that pin on there, and really the pin doesn't mean anything. It's so everyone else can see what it is you went through for them because they developed that program for us. It's just finding volunteers to go through that shit. Right. And that's why we get slack and we get respect the way we get it. And team guys are designed to fall. That's why there's only a handful of us. We're the ones that have to fall down and get back up. And I had the thing with the pride too. But reputation and what we're expected to do comes with that job. And that's the hardest part when they beat that into us. It's like the nail, every part of the nail. There's certain parts of it you can't see, especially when it's getting hammered through them. So when we come out with that mentality, I don't know if you ever picked up on this, man, but you've been going so hard in the paint that everyone's trying to keep up with you. You kind of set the standards for that. Like when we go into the hospital and the doc's like, hey, look, man, I've been looking at your damn numbers. This is off the chain. This, I don't even know what that number is. This is like, and I'm like, sweet, new standards. That's what we do. Set the human limit for standards. No one else is doing that.
I did pave the way. I'm not trying to be rude or cut you off, brother. But I did pave the way. Like I was a forerunner in that space of seeing what was possible for the human body to endure. And that I'll take on. I did do that. But I got to that mountaintop, and then this whole time, this whole battle, I'm battling God because I was raised in a Christian home. I have a family of believers, and I'm saying, God, if you're for me, then why am I going through all of this trouble? Like, why do I keep failing to get up to this point? And it's like I had given myself over to myself. I became my own idol. And that was the problem. Not necessarily for all team guys, but for me specifically, I had to give up what I wanted most to be a team guy, to be the first one in the door. That was my number one intention. I'm the point man. I'm lead nav. I'm everything to get in first.
Well, you got to hand it to the boss for doing that for you. Not getting in your way, but you wanted. This is what you wanted. And the only way you could get this was to go through that.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I'm talking about? And so you got, it's not like, why are you doing this to me? It's like, hey man, this is what it takes to get what you want. And this is why you have to volunteer for it. That's what will is. Some people don't do that. They get put in these race cars, man. You can use it or you don't have to. How far you want to go? You want wisdom? You want knowledge? We got to give you some puzzles to solve. You want what you wanted? The only way to get it was to go through that. And not only did you do it, you did it carrying that load. So all of us could see it. Each one of us have a burden. And I had my ass kicked down that mountain too, bro. Rightfully so. Talk about some humble pie. I made it all the way to the top. And he was sitting there right there. Dropped freaking Thor's hammer right on top of me and threw my ass all the way back down it. And why? Right. And that's what's like hammered it into me. You made it all the way to the top. You learned what you needed to learn. Good job. Now to make sure it sticks inside of you, I'm going to throw you back down the mountain and hammer it home. Right.
Right. All right. So that's when I finally gave up my own will and my own desire to better serve the teammates and to serve God. So once I gave up that, like the idolatry of self, it was like, all right, now I'm going to be instead of being selfish, I'm going to be selfless.
Oh.
And I said, I want to serve you, God, and whatever you have in store for me, I'll do it. Because up until that point, I was battling day in and day out. Like, hey, bless me, but I'm going to go do what I want. It doesn't work like that. And once I finally found that surrender moment, is like, once I finally actually did give it up, and I think that would be my greatest never quit story, is I did quit, but I started a new mission and a new purpose. So I found purpose in what I was doing outside of self, where I could serve other people. And then once I gave that up, God, and this is it, guess what? The door opened to be a SEAL. And I learned a foreign language. The only team guy at SEAL Team 7 know Arabic. And to be
that's probably a really true, that's a true statement, especially that remembers it. All the boys that go through the language classes, I'm like, hey man, cool, you know a language? Like, yeah, it's friend. I'm like, all right, let me hear some. All right, man. And then that's it.
They're like,
buongiorno.
It's like, no, that's Spanish, dude.
Yeah, all right. That's awesome.
It's like, all right. So I was able to utilize the skill because I was willing to surrender what I wanted to do to serve my teammates at a higher capacity and at a better level than I ever thought possible. And once I grasped that, I was like, okay, I'm not serving myself, I'm serving my teammates. Did I do what I wanted to do and kick doors in and be a first man? No. I did key leader engagements. I did some other cool stuff and got to just experience life in a different way. But I did it in service, and I did it as a SEAL. And to do that, and to be, overseas and still do the cool stuff, but just not the way I wanted to, but in service to my teammates. It goes hand in hand.
Oh, dude, that's a good way of saying that, brother.
Let's take a second to thank our sponsors over at Squarespace. You've heard me talk about them before. And if you've never heard of Squarespace, which if you haven't, I'm really surprised. But if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, or maybe you thought about starting a business, or maybe you have plans to start a business this year, then you guys need to know about Squarespace. That is because they give you all the tools you need to build a beautiful website and to run your business. Now, I'm a business owner. I own a marketing agency. I actually build websites for a living. And when it comes to using tools for your business that are not only intuitive, that will help you save time and save money, it can be really expensive. I can speak for myself and I can say that in my company, I don't know, I've lost count of how many subscriptions I pay for to manage my business. And you don't have to deal with that with Squarespace. If you're just getting into this thing, if you're just starting a business, or you've been around forever, Squarespace is going to help take some of the load off with the great tools they have. Some of my favorite features are the ability to send email campaigns. I don't have to use a separate software. I can do it straight in the Squarespace platform. You can actually grow and engage your audience with Squarespace email campaigns, create content that matches your website with your existing products, your blog posts, and your logo, so all of your messaging is consistent. You can collect donations. So if you're a nonprofit organization, you can support your cause by gathering contributions with PayPal, Apple Pay, Stripe, and then all the analytics built in. That's probably the most important part when you're growing a business. You're going to be able to see who's visiting your site, how they're interacting with the content, which is going to help you make informed business decisions to grow your organization. If you have plans to start a business this year, or you are looking to lessen the load in your existing business and you're looking for an amazing website, hands down of all the website platforms I've used in my time, when it comes to doing it yourself and managing the business as well, Squarespace is the way to go. If you guys want to check it out, I want you to head over to squarespace.com. They're going to give you a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, make sure to head over to squarespace.com/TNQ. You're going to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So take my word from it. I'm a professional after all. Head over to squarespace.com. Get a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/TNQ. That way you can save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Make sure to check it out, squarespace.com/TNQ.
When I did that, it was like, okay, now here's the next door. Here's the next opportunity. Here's the next opportunity. And I got that opportunity hand selected to implement the foreign language program's scenario-based training, really platform at that time. There was a big push to get every, dude to the pipeline to get a foreign language. And I was the liaison officer for that moment. And I replaced 05 and I was the E6. So it's like, you don't deserve to be here, but I'm going to give you some grace. And here you go. What would you do? What have you learned? How would you implement it? And that's the awesome thing about the team. Like, it doesn't matter who you are or what title or rank you have. It matters, what impact can you make towards the team? Then here you go, make the impact. And they empower leaders in that way. And that's why they're so dynamic in what they do. That's why I appreciate the whole entirety of this.
Oh, so that's the coolest part about our program is the door kicking stuff. That's sex. That's what everyone else thinks is sexy. And we do that. But I mean, we do everything. If you've seen some high speed stuff on TV that you think is cool, them spies do, trust me, we do it. Where do you think they got that from? I mean, it's right. Like that. And I mean, from undersea to above land, it's the sex. That's why it's so damn hard to get in there, but it's worth it. I tell anybody who wants to, if they can stick it out, it's worth it. Because it's knowing what the body can take now. Yeah, knowing what the body can take. So getting torn apart, even in buds training. Like the instructors technically, hey, look, man, your arm's torn out. That's cool. We can fix it. I mean, especially nowadays, guys, when they get shot up, they're like, oh, take my leg. Give me that one that makes me run this faster. I can, swim through the water at 40 miles an hour. The only thing that the instructors are concentrating on really is that mind. I mean, it's how you're taking that ass whipping that your body's taking. It's brilliant in its development and how it keeps growing and what it produces. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I love that part. And since they empowered me, right, with that particular spot in the program, I learned how to implement and how to teach what needs to be taught to the new guys. And it's like, you don't need to learn where the bathroom is or how to order food or how to get to the airport. Maybe you need to learn a few things, but this is specifically what we need to learn and how we need to learn it so that we can conduct engagement, so that we can do a direct assault, so that we can do these things, and say the right things and actually learn it. So they gave me the ability to do that and work with civilian staff there. And that's where I gained a new skill set, really. And that's where I was able to implement training and setting that up. So I developed a new love for that sort of thing. And that's where I really dove into developing, someone from in between the ears, from the neck up here, and not just physical, because I can turn anybody into a push-up machine.
Yeah.
But can I embed something in you that I already have? Can I give you my 1% mentality? Can I give you grit? Can I give you a warrior mindset and shift that? And so that's really what my challenge was. The instructor at ATC got out, and then moving forward, I'm the SEAL mentor for Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio on
nice
the back
work, brother.
or on the front end.
Sure, where you came back, where you started. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, man.
Yeah. And I got to implement the training that I'm writing out, that I'm producing to get these guys from point A to all the way to Z.
Yeah.
And it was the most gratifying job, I'll say, that I've ever been a part of, because I'm implementing what they need later on so that they can take it step by step. And then it just started to morph, right? As the team guy, right? Frogman, I'm going to be ambidextrous and amphibious and everything in between. And I started to do that with teams, organizations, and CEOs, and developing this core curriculum really on how to have and be a warrior in mind, and then how to be a better teammate, and how to create the culture that you desire within your company or within your team. What does it mean to have elite teams? Well, here you go. Right? And I created this mentorship program that I call the Grit Academy. And it gives you everything that I've ever learned in the SEAL teams, plus and then some. After going through that and getting my doctorate in history and Christian leadership, like, how can I apply leadership, servant leadership, and the SEAL team? Well, it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And how do I apply that to your life, to lead? How do I do that?
Oh, so
that's where I was. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was talking to some of the guys earlier that were coming back that get out of the when they come out of the teams, they're looking for something to do, just like the old samurai and the warriors back in the day. You fought in the beginning. We learned our skill sets, and you go in. I garden. Don't tell anybody, right? So, or the guys paint, and the most important is passing it back, the mentorship, and giving it back to the kids. The older ones above us, they're not going to listen to us. We're coming back. So I've been calling the guys who go into from SEALs into the theology. Those are the modern Jedis, because they're the ones that can go in and actually sit down. They're there for a purpose. And perfect case scenario to teach the kids, all you'd have to just go in there and live with them, because they'll see what they see, they'll do. How you see you talk, they're going to talk. They're going to mimic the badass in the room, plain and simple, right? And if it's the warriors that come out like that we got guys that are so damn ferocious that they scare Earth, right? But then they got that pure heart in them, and they get out, and they're the ones that are actually brilliant at teaching all this. You wouldn't think, but they're scary looking and all this.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't think, a guy from the city and not really very educated, not eloquently spoken, you would think that guys like that would even get a chance to do something like this.
Right.
But the determination and the desire to never quit, that's that whole mantra that's spoken here, like team never quit. And if you never quit and never give up and have a game plan moving forward, you can accomplish anything.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what I've created in my mentorship program, where I am like the symbiote, like venom attaches to somebody, but in a good way. It's like I go in and help professionals become elite leaders and turn that into championship culture with that mentorship. And it's not mine. It's just everything that everyone has ever given. Piece by piece, put together, and it's there. So if you don't give up and you follow the pattern, right, of success, you're not doing new methods. It's based on proven principles.
Right.
And
it actually feeds itself.
True.
Yeah, it feeds itself.
Yeah. And if you do it based on the principles that are true, then you don't give up, then you will succeed, however long it takes. Who knows? But if you keep at it, you never quit. You'll be on your road to success.
What's up? All right, tell me about the book, bro.
Oh yeah. So my book, Warrior of God, is out now, and it's to empower the leaders and what I call the ecclesia, or God's people, to wear the full armor of God and how to apply it in their lives so that they can live victoriously with the mighty warrior who is in them, and that's Christ Jesus. And so if you want to learn about that and learn about the armor of God and how to apply it in your life and how to apply the word of God in your life to live victoriously with that warrior mindset, then this is the book for you. This is the end all be all, right, book for how to apply the armor of God in your life. And I've taken all the principles that we learned in the SEAL teams at the back end of the book and applied it to how to be a good, strong Christian man in a world that, let's be honest, is totally disconnected and segregated and separated. And the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And the only way that he can do all of those things is by separating and being segregated and having division. And so this is about bringing unity to the strong men and women in the nation to win back the country.
Oh yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, that's when we were talking about that. It's a real thing, that armor. It is. And a lot of people, as we go through it, when we got into the SEAL teams, you get your body armor issued to you. You get your helmet, you get your plates, your gun, but it comes at different times. Not only does it come at different times, but you got to earn that. You know it's coming, right? I mean, there's parts of it, from your name and your shield, you're from the helmet, from the sword, and the relative between the physical, like a real sword, and then your ability to communicate, like your tongue. It can be a double-edged sword, or it can be for good things, or it can be for bad. Right. And that gets lost. That was probably the coolest way to explain what it means to grow up. And for some reason, it's gotten lost in translation, because guys like us be like, hey, man, at this age, you're going through this. It's going to be tough. But at the end of it, you get this helmet. right? You're like, really, what does it look like? Right? And like, there's a shield too. And like, yeah, man, you just keep going as you grow and you keep fighting and life keeps coming at you. And then you got buddies that show up and man, you see them going through it. And man, look at that guy's shield. Wow. Like the stuff that comes out of him, it just deflects and lands right on me and kicks my ass because I haven't earned that part of the shield, right? So it works like that. It's always growing. And when they say dismantle, you can tear it apart.
The cool thing is when you get together, right? When you're a team, then you're really united together. If you put up your shield of faith up, guess what? The other guy's going to get a shield of faith too, because you're living it. You're showing them how to walk in faith. So, hey, guess what? Here's my shield. Well, God's got my back. He's going to give me another one. Yeah. If you have the helmet of hope on, guess what? You're going to have light coming out. Like you're going to have hope. You're going to persevere through all this darkness. And you have that chest plate, right? You're going to stop those darts and those arrows, those bullets from hitting your heart. If you have that chest plate of righteousness on, guess what? You're going to live the right way. And your heart won't be deceived and your heart won't be darkened because you apply it in the right way. And you do it with the truth, the belt of truth. Buckled around my waist, I stand firmly in the truth, and I don't listen to those things left and to the right that are lies, that try to attack me, but I stick to the truth. And I always have on the boots of the gospel, ready to take it to wherever I'm supposed to go. If I go to the corners of the earth, then I'm taking the gospel with me because I'm a living, breathing human, and I'm living, breathing the gospel. God saved me on that day when I surrendered. He allowed me to go through all of that testing so that I could be the man I am today. And I always tell people, like, if you are going through all of these terrible scenarios in life, don't think that each of these things that happen to you are the bricks or the stones that build up a wall to get to the place that you could never be. Understand that these bricks, these stones are just a stepping stone to eventually make a bridge to cross over the river that you're trying to get to.
Sure. I heard it explained to me.
That. Go ahead.
Oh, the other day was the Bible's basic instructions before leaving Earth. And it's the script, if this is the movie script. So if you're in a situation in life at a certain age, going through something, open that book up and it's in there. Not only is it in there, I tell you how to get out of it and not to get back in it. Right. And the gift that comes with it. Like it's scripted out but nothing new under the sun. It's playing out again. So back in the day, they took the time to write those scenarios out. So when you get back in it, and the thing tells the future. It's the only book alive. It's written 2,000 years ago. It talks about stuff going on today. It's pretty cool. I didn't know a lot of this, but now I do. And that's what's the best self-help book there is because it's written for humans, for us, right?
And if you use it right, you can really use the sword of the spirit, which it comes out of your mouth, right? So it is that double-edged sword. You can either cut people down with it, or build people up, or you can cut, the negativity out, and you can cut darkness out and replace it with light. So it's really important. And then the last piece of that armor is prayer. Prayer is really like a laser beam that goes through the earth. I mean, you could hit China with it. You can hit wherever with it. So it's how to apply all these things and live as an uncommon man. Really, we know that we're all common, but we all have an uncommon purpose. And I finally figured it out on how to fulfill mine. Have I fulfilled it all? No, but at least we know our new purpose. We have a new target to hit. And then when God has given me this book to get out and given me this message to give out and given me this testimony to give out, like, hey, you're still a forerunner. You still got a ton of land to cover.
Oh yeah.
You still got a lot of trees to cut down.
You know what? Because it comes out differently out of a team guy as it does a preacher. Like a preacher be like, hey, I'm this and the other. And a team guy be like, hey, quit being stupid. Get over there because this is what's going to happen. God loves you. Get on. Oh man, that's awesome. All right. Well, where can people find you and track you down? And we're gonna launch you out here pretty soon.
Okay. I have my own website, patrickbisher.com. Nothing crazy. And LinkedIn, the same, first name, last name. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm not really active on that, but if you really want to reach out to me, go to my site and give me a message, and I'll answer everything.
All right, bro. Yeah, Amazon. for the book? Everywhere for the book?
Yeah. On Amazon.
Okay. Yeah, we'll promote that thing too.
Perfect. Thanks, man. Thanks so much for being
a.
Hey, Patrick. Thanks, brother, man. Yeah. Thanks for all you do. We need to link up. Where are you living right now?
I live in Florida now.
Okay. Where?
Orlando,
big city. I'm on my way to Pensacola. I'm on my way to Pensacola for a couple weeks. I still do my physical therapy down there every year at Exos at the Andrews Institute. Yeah. They've been putting me together for 15 since I got back. So, that's funny. You were talking about you still have your cast. My back brace. I found that thing a while back. Still got all the stickers on it. Like, this sucks. I hate being in it. But shit, man, we need to link up for sure.
Yeah.
If I'm ever out that way, if you're ever out this way. All right, brother. God bless you, man. We'll keep in touch.
God bless you. Have a great day.